When we talk about consistency, people often imagine it as this massive, heavy responsibility, something that requires extraordinary effort, extraordinary talent, or extraordinary discipline. But in reality, consistency is built in the ordinary moments, the small steps that seem insignificant in the beginning. The truth is, success is rarely the result of one big decision or one big action. It is the quiet accumulation of tiny efforts, repeated over time, that ultimately changes everything. Think about it for a moment. A seed planted in the soil does not become a tree overnight. It begins invisible, buried in the darkness, watered gently, of receiving just enough sunlight to survive. Day by day, it stretches a little higher, its roots dig a little deeper, until one day, it breaks through the surface and begins to grow into something remarkable. That is the power of small steps, the kind of steps most people ignore because they look too ordinary, too unglamorous, too slow. We live in a world obsessed with instant results. We want quick success, quick recognition, quick transformations. But the irony is that those who achieve real greatness understand that small, consistent actions are far more powerful than sudden bursts of effort, because bursts fade, excitement dies, but habits, once formed through consistency, carry you forward even when the excitement is gone. Take, for example, the act of reading 1 page a day. 1 page feels like nothing. You might think, what difference will this make? But 1 page a day becomes 365 pages in a year. That's a book. 10 years from now, that's 10 books. Multiply that by the knowledge, the perspectives, the wisdom that stacks up from those 10 books. And suddenly, that 1 page a day no longer looks so small. That's the compounding effect of consistency. Small steps don't just add up. They multiply, they compound. They reshape the trajectory of your life. This is not only true in learning, but in every area of life. A 10-minute walk daily may not feel like exercise, but it builds health. Writing a paragraph a day may not look like much, but in a year it could become a book. Showing kindness to one person a day may not change the world, but it might change one person's world, and over time change yours as well. What matters is not the size of the step, but the fact that you take it every single day. The psychology behind this is fascinating. Our brains are wired to resist big changes because they feel overwhelming. That's why most people quit after starting something new. They try to do too much too fast. But when you make your steps small, your brain doesn't fight back. It accepts them, it adapts, and slowly it builds the identity of someone who follows through. Every small step becomes proof to yourself. I can do this. I can keep showing up. And once that identity is formed, you no longer struggle with motivation. You act because it's simply who you are. Philosophically, it's the same principle echoed across wisdom traditions. The Stoics taught that excellence is not an act, but a habit. Eastern philosophies remind us that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Greatness has always been about repetition, about honoring the process more than the outcome. And when you truly understand that, the pressure lifts. You no longer measure success by how far you've gone in a week, but by the fact that you're still walking. Let me tell you, there will be days when your steps feel invisible, when the progress is so small you wonder if it's even worth it. You may look around and see others racing ahead, achieving things faster, and you will be tempted to give up. But remember, this slow progress is still progress. Tiny steps forward are still steps forward. The race is not always won by the fastest. It's often won by the one who never stopped walking. So, when you feel like your actions don't matter, pause and remind yourself they do. Every page read, every word written, every habit practiced is building something larger than you can see right now. Success doesn't announce itself loudly in the beginning. It whispers in the background while you're doing the ordinary work until one day the world looks at you and calls it extraordinary. And maybe that's the lesson we all need to carry. That greatness is not hidden in the grand gestures, but in the quiet, steady rhythm of showing up. Because when you show up again and again, small steps don't just make an impact, they make history. So ask yourself today, what small step can I take and commit to every single day, no matter how ordinary it feels? Because that step, repeated with consistency, may one day become the step that changes your entire life. Motivation is a beautiful spark. It excites us, it inspires us, it gives us the energy to dream bigger than before. But here is the truth: we don't often admit motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like the weather. Sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, and often completely absent when you need it the most. If you build your life around motivation, of you are building on unstable ground. Because what happens on the days when you wake up tired? What happens when life feels heavy, when your heart is not in it, when the initial excitement is gone? That is where most people stop. But that is also where discipline begins. Discipline is not about feelings. It's about commitment. It's the silent force that keeps you moving when motivation is nowhere to be found. And this is where consistency finds its true partner, because consistency without discipline cannot survive. You cannot depend on inspiration alone to shape your future. You must depend on the structure you create, the rules you set for yourself, the promises you refuse to break, even when no one is watching. Think of an athlete training for the Olympics. Do you think they wake up every day feeling motivated to practice? No. There are mornings when their body aches, when their mind resists, when the last thing they want to do is step on that track. But they do it anyway, not because they feel like it, but because discipline demands it. And over time, that discipline becomes their edge. That is what separates champions from the rest. The ability to keep showing up not when it's easy, but when it's hardest. Psychologically, discipline is powerful because it bypasses the trap of mood. Motivation asks, do I feel like it today? Discipline answers of, it doesn't matter. I do it anyway. That shift is what transforms people from dreamers into doers. Most of us wait for the right mood, the right moment, or the perfect inspiration to start. But the truth is, if you wait for motivation to carry you, you will wait forever. Discipline is the decision to stop waiting and start doing, regardless of how you feel. Philosophically, discipline is the practice of freedom. It may sound strange. Rules and routines sound like restriction. But in reality, discipline liberates you from the chaos of impulse. When you are ruled by feelings, you are a prisoner to every high and low, every distraction, every excuse. But when you are ruled by discipline, you choose your path. You own your actions. You are no longer tossed around by temporary emotions. You are anchored. And an anchored person can weather any storm. Consider the musician who practices scales for hours long before they ever perform on stage. It's repetitive, it's boring, it's not glamorous. Yet without that discipline, there would be no music. Or the writer who forces themselves to write a page a day, even when the words don't flow. Or the student who studies when others are partying, the entrepreneur who works on their vision when no one else believes in it. In each case, discipline is the bridge that connects desire to achievement. And let me tell you, discipline is not about punishing yourself or living a joyless life. It's about aligning your daily choices with your bigger vision. It's about respecting yourself enough to say, I will do what I promised because my future deserves it. That is not punishment. That is love. That is self-respect. And when you practice discipline long enough, something profound happens. The things you once forced yourself to do become natural. They become part of who you are. You don't just act disciplined. You become disciplined. And that identity shift is where real power lies. Now, I won't pretend it's easy. Discipline will test you. It will demand sacrifice. It will require you to say no when everyone else is saying yes. It will make you feel lonely at times, misunderstood at times. But remember this, discipline is temporary pain in exchange for lasting freedom. Motivation gives you a moment of excitement. Discipline gives you a lifetime of results. And maybe that's the perspective we all need. Stop asking yourself, how do I stay motivated? Start asking, how do I stay disciplined? Because the truth is, your future will not be written by how motivated you felt on certain days. It will be written by the actions you took day after day, whether you felt like it or not. So, the next time you wake up uninspired, the next time you feel tired, the next time you want to give up, remind yourself you don't need to feel like it. You just need to do it. And the more you do, the stronger you become, not just in results, but in character. Because at the end of the day, motivation may light the fire, but it is discipline that keeps it burning.